And there we are. It is Friday afternoon, Friday, February 27th. Welcome to the Maple Minds podcast. I'm Christy, that's Rob, and Polly. We're three people from BC who are passionate about exchanging opinions about what's happening in politics. I think today will be very Pierre heavy. I have a lot to say about Pierre and the reactions to his speech and his actions lately. But there's so much going on. We have so much to talk about. And we will get, because we're from BC, we have to talk about what happened in BC Parliament yesterday with Tara Armstrong trying to eliminate our Human Rights Tribunal. But that will be after we dish on Pierre. I got to start with Pierre. I think that is the biggest attention getter in Canada this week, in my opinion, was his latest "Look Who I Am." It's different than the guy I was last week. This is version number 7, I believe. We finally heard him talk about Trump. We heard him use some language that was a little different than what we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing this guy just blame the Liberals for absolutely everything. We heard him actually blame the United States for what's going on, which I think was refreshing. And then when he said even it was overdue, which I agreed with, but then he didn't say, lost Liberal decade. He didn't go into his usual Pierre-ness about it. Wasn't a fan of the overall speech, but I was a fan of the parts that I appreciated that he said. I will get more into my opinions after I hear Rob's.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So let's start off. Pierre Poilievre is a chameleon, and we all know this, and we don't know what version of Pierre is going to come out next. But I got to tell you, that speech, the speechwriters, his advisors, or whoever came up with that for him, gold star, like absolute gold star. Like that version of Pierre Poilievre in that speech, that version 9.0 or whatever you want to say, is a dangerous version. Like for me, it's a dangerous version. He was relatable. He made sense. There was no slogans. He was talking about what they, the conservatives would do or should do. That speech, if that was the version of Pierre going into the election last year, could have been dangerous. Could have been very dangerous. And I still don't agree with some of the things he said. I still don't believe, the US is a viable trading partner. And I believe what we're doing in China and what we're going to be doing in India and in Australia and in Japan, like all of the things that we're doing, I think are the right thing. And I think that's where we need to start looking at. And fundamentally, I don't agree with some of the things he said, but how he said it and, just the substance of his speech is a dangerous version of him. I got to tell you, there's going to be a lot of people looking at him a little bit differently if they don't realize that that's just the 9.0 version. And who knows what the 10.0 or 11.0 version is going to end up being, or does he revert back to 2.0? I don't know. I mean, it's still Pierre Poilievre.
Politicians, though, is that they can keep reinventing themselves, and the public has a short memory, or we're very quick to forgive. As long as we see a version that we like better, I think that we could see a lot more support for Pierre if it's genuine and if he can keep it up. And I don't believe he can. I agree with you when you said that you don't agree with everything he said, but you agreed with how he said it, and you complimented his speechwriters. I think his speechwriters and his strategy guys, or maybe it's his strategy, I think maybe they're not the same. I agree with how he presented it, but I don't agree that telling Canadians that you're going to go for a zero tariff deal in auto, it made no sense. We can get into that in a second. But the way that it was presented, like I said, I give it to his speechwriters. I think that they gave us a better version of Pierre, but I think they only did it because he's shitting in the pool so bad.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Specifically, like when he was going on his immigration rant with his fake refugees and stuff. We talked a little bit about that on the last show on Tuesday. Somebody had posted on X a little chart of what was most, according to the latest polls, what's most important to Canadians. And the Trump thing was way up there, and the immigration thing was like low. And then we see him come out and he does this speech, and he's like, Trump bad. But then when he talked about how he would go about it, that's when he lost me. And again, he said it in a great way. Kudos to his speechwriters. But the substance of what he said doesn't make sense on paper. It doesn't. Why do you think that they would agree to zero tariffs when they're the ones who put the tariffs on in the first place? At a time where we weren't, he's like, well, we'll just get rid of Chinese EVs. When we weren't bringing in Chinese EVs at the time that they said, you know what, we want some more tariffs.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to say though is the fact that we're now bringing in the EVs from China, or there's that deal that's going to allow what is it, 49,000 or 59,000 or whatever it is, into Canada, could be leverage for us to go back to the US and say, hey, if we do this, then maybe you could do this. And I mean, it's honestly the problem with Pierre Poilievre when it comes to like substance, like his like the ideas that they actually have, they're like farts in the wind. They're this unicorn that doesn't really exist either. Like it's very odd. Like he throws things out there that people might cling to if they don't really understand economics in any sort of way whatsoever, which is baffling to me because you're the official opposition leader. Like you should have some sort of like understanding of economics or substance or trade deals or just anything.
How long it
And the
took them to
fact,
come up with the budget when they were campaigning, he used this whole, well, I don't want him to copy off me. Come on. The guy with the PhD in economics from Oxford is going to copy off of the career politician. I don't think so. But I think, and when they finally did bring it out, do you remember it? How many pictures were in that thing? It was like, let's say it's 27 pages long. Like at least 10 of those pages were, oh, look, here's Pierre and his wife. Well, here's Pierre meeting some constituents. I want substance. I want to know numbers. I want cold, hard facts. Yeah. Pictures. Sure. You can see pictures everywhere else. Why not put some facts beside them?
yeah. And the other interesting part is talking about, the US and sort of that, not being a fan of them, in this speech, and sort of blaming them and whatever. He still got this weird narrative before where because Mark Carney hasn't made a deal with the United States, Mark Carney's bad. So like we've got this narrative of you haven't made a deal with them, just like you promised, which it was never a promise. And then he turns around and basically says this. And I'm like, you've just completely contradicted all this other garbage that you've been spewing for so long into this speech. So now you can't turn around and ask, Mark Carney why he hasn't made a deal with the US when you already said, well, US is bad. Like you can't do it.
And he didn't say US bad. He said that we can't control them. So he's kind of admitting that it's without control. While he didn't talk about the pivot from and oh my God, did I just use pivot and Pierre in the same sentence? But he did, because the message was, hey, should have had a deal by now. And then we heard him kind of say, okay, it was the other guy whose fault that we're in this situation, and pardon me, and we shouldn't capitulate to them, but we can't control them, and this is what we can do. And even though I don't agree with his strategy, he didn't go with the usual attack Carney for not having a deal. So I think when I said if before, if I was speaking in text, that would have been a capital if in bold, underlined. This is where I think the if comes in. If we see him and his cheerleaders, because come on, those cheerleaders aren't doing, besides Giovanni, they're doing what he wants them to communicate about, right? I think that if we hear more of, oh, what Carney should have made a deal, Carney, after this speech, I don't know if it'll stick as much. This new version of him, this new less insulting, more unified approach with the other parties to take on somebody who's threatening all of us instead of just pretending that the other guys in our country are the biggest threat to us. Um, I think the next few weeks will determine that.
Yeah, I think Polyev, like, I don't know if narcissist is the right word. Like, I don't know if it is or not, but I do believe there's a portion of him that if he's starting to get good reviews over what he just did and what he just said, I think his own internal, like, want for everyone to like him and revere him is, like, could essentially spur him to continue on this path. Like, he's,
Like a
I think
positive
he,
reward when you give your dog a treat when your dog listens to you and you get,
well,
if he
it's,
but I
the
agree with you, if he sees,
Pavlov, right? Pavlov's dog, right? You
yeah,
ring the bell, you give him food. You ring the bell, like, and really, all of a sudden you're ringing the bell, and Pierre Poilievre is salivating, right? I mean, that's just what
well,
it is.
it's in a poll way, right? If he sees the results in the poll, so there's polls out this morning too, and he's horrible, doing horrible, worse than last week even.
Oh, those
But it is
polls.
very fresh from the speech. Like I said, if he keeps it up, if he keeps up this new tone, and so do his cheerleaders, and he has a successful trip over in UK and Germany, I think that we have a chance of this new version sticking around. Oh,
Yeah.
look, I didn't insult, and the polls are in my favor. Oh, look, I talked about this and I didn't insult anybody, and the polls are getting better for me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
Am
exactly
I
what I'm
am I
thinking.
naive to hope that?
Uh, my problem is, and here's where I stand on all of this is we've seen who Pierre Poilievre is. We've seen who he is. We already know who he is. They've opened up the curtains. We've seen who he is. And obviously this is a different version of him, and he's doing sort of what his advisors and his writers and people are telling him to do right now because he needs to do this. And is real, he does need to do this.
Yeah.
But the problem I have is he's only doing this because he wants to gain in the polls. He needs to gain in the polls. He needs to not lose any more MPs from his party. Like, these are all reactionary. These are all things that he's
Yeah.
doing, not
Otherwise, he
because
would have
that's who
said it.
he is.
He would have
It's
said it
because
10
he
months
needs
ago.
to.
Yeah.
And so
I
that's not who he really is. So we're all sitting there going, oh, yay, good for you, Pierre Poilievre. Oh, he's really turning a corner. No, he's not. He's still
yeah.
the same Pierre Poilievre. He's just playing a game now because that's what he thinks is going to be the best outcome for him personally. Not even the party, just for him personally.
Yeah.
This is the best outcome for him. And for me, I find that dangerous because that's not who he is. It's disingenuous. And he's basically doing it just, I don't know, for himself, like, really.
So we found out that he was going out of town, like that he was going to take this trip as a leader of the opposition to UK and Germany. We still don't know who he's meeting, which would be
And
my
why?
concern. Like if he's going over and he's meeting with like some world leaders as the opposition and getting fresh perspectives, hey man, I'm going to applaud that. And I think that if he represents us well while he's abroad, I applaud that too. If he meets the AFD, if he's hanging out with Alice Weidel or Christine Anderson, no, I'm going to shit on him for that because that's some very, very far right leaders that I would be concerned about. But what I said last show on Tuesday was that I believed that because Jenaru got to go to India and Japan and I think Australia, and Ma got to go to China, I said that I looked at that as a sort of signal to any conservative MP that might be kind of sitting on the fence and thinking like, I'm never going to have this opportunity with Pierre. Well, we get off the show. The next day I go on my phone. I'm like, Pierre's going overseas. And he spoke on his speech about this, about Trump. And I think that the signal to the MPs now, so my message last Tuesday was Carney signaling to the MPs, hey, we're in this paradigm shift. We are changing the entire world's trading order. We're leading this. If you want a part of it, you got to be on my team, right? And you're going to have these opportunities that aren't afforded to you if you're staying under Pierre. I think Pierre just sent a message to say, hey, look, I'm against that guy too. You don't need to go over there to join it. And look at me, I'm going to go over to Germany. This might be in my head. This is what I think though, because I really did believe that it was a signal to maybe future floor crossers. And I think that Pierre is sending the same signal. I can give you the same opportunities. You can be part of this big change under me still, because I'm going to go against Trump too. I'm just going to do it in a different way. That's just what I think. Do you disagree?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why he's doing it, but my only question is, and this is the funny part for me, is when Carney was going, is spending time going around the world making deals, like trade deals, working with other countries, trying to secure our future as Canadians, and the conservative narrative is, look at this guy doing all this traveling and not doing, no deals and this and that, whatever. Well, Pierre Poilievre is now traveling. And what deals is he going to make? He can't make a deal. He doesn't have the authority to make. Yeah. There's no reason for him to travel. He's not making the economy better for Canada by traveling anywhere. He's using Canadian funds, taxpayer funds, to go on a trip.
Hold on. No, he's not.
Oh, no, he's not?
No, he's not. I will correct you.
Oh, he's paying for himself?
No, the Conservative Party pays for it. So,
well, who pays the Conservative Party?
Pardon me?
Who, I guess, from donors and stuff?
Donations to the Conservative Party. So, which are all publicly available because they have to disclose that. But it is, so the leader of the opposition does not get taxpayer money to do trips like this. The Prime Minister does. The Prime Minister gets paid to do this, but Pierre Poilievre doesn't. And it was detailed in the Global article that taxpayers won't be paying for this. So I'm glad you brought it up, so I have a chance to correct you.
Nice. But here's the thing is, at the end of the day, he's using someone's money for what? And I mean, for what? What is he doing? What is the reason? And is it going to be that he's now going to spend more time in the UK and in Germany than he is in his own constituency? You know what I mean?
He's not in his own constituency. Come on, he's not there anyways. We're going to get to Damien Kurek though.
Jane has a good point. She says that maybe he's going to meet with fellow IDU supporters.
It's possible. I think that we're not going to know the purpose of the trip until we see who he's meeting and what he's talking about, which I'm sure will be disclosed. But that was the first thing. That's why I brought up the AFD too, because remember, Christine Anderson had come to Canada twice, courting the convoy supporters and some of his MPs. Remember Leslyn Lewis and I can't remember who else were pictured having lunch with her, and then he had to apologize to Canada on behalf of his MPs to say, they didn't really know who she was. Come on. Bullshit. Yeah, they do. But still, so I don't know if he would be so bold as to meet somebody like that while he's over there. But like I said, we're not going to know until he's there. But I think it's a signal, because I think that the floor crossing thing, when I said we'll talk about Damien Kurek later, he did a whole media thing about how, why is the media focusing on conservatives and Pierre and questioning Pierre's leadership? Because the guy lost 3 MPs in 3.5 months. That's why. If it's any other leader, if it's the Liberals, if the Liberals lost 1 MP, if 1 MP crossed the floor to go to the Conservatives, the media would be all over it. You're talking about 3 in 3.5 months. It's newsworthy. Don't tell me that they're not going to. If you had a sports team where you had 3 players begging, and I got to get off this team. I got to get off this team. Trade me. I can't play for this coach. You'd be talking about the coach. You would.
Oh, for sure.
They haven't said that, but.
I mean, what is it? They only need 1 more? Liberals only need 1 more?
Here's the thing. It depends, because there's going to be so many by-elections. So at this point, they need 1 more. But in Terrebonne, in that election was only decided by like, I think, one vote or something. So the courts have come back and said, nope, we're not going to count that. So that one's a by-election. It's probably going to stay. I want to say, I think it was NDP that won it. It was NDP or Bloc, I believe. I don't believe that one's going to go to Liberals, but it's possible, right? Chrystia Freeland's seat is up since she took her other spot. Bill Blair's seat is up because he took another spot. And I believe there's another one too, where there's a guy that's looking for another spot that could open it up too. So it's not as easy as just saying one more.
I think Chrystia Freeland's riding is going to stay Liberal. I don't see
I think
that
so
changing.
too.
Yeah, that one's pretty much a lock, I think.
Think so.
Based on the numbers from historically, I think so.
I think so too. And I think that if he does get a majority because of floor crossers, if anything is going to make Pierre break his poker face with this new face that he is giving Canadians, I think that would be it. I think that if there was a fourth, I can't see them keeping him. But honestly, I can't believe they kept him this long.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
And the people who are smarter than me about this kind of thing, the pundits, they're the ones saying that there are other rumors of them saying that there's people considering it too, which is another reason why I think that Pierre's speech, it isn't just for, I'm telling you guys, I don't believe it's just for Canadians or just for his supporters. I think it's for his MPs. I think it's to stop the bleed.
I think it's for everyone, but definitely that was for his MPs to sort of say, I'm the leader you need. I'm the leader you want. But the problem is, at the end of the day, he can't just make speeches. He's got to,
you can't,
like I said on Tuesday, he's got to be a leader where he brings people together and helps bring the young up and comers, or even just the up and comers, up and giving them more opportunities to grow in the party, rather than keeping them down for fear that one day they're going to take over his position. And I still think that that's his ultimate
okay, so that's
idea.
That's another thing that is going on. So traditionally, this sort of micromanaging Poilievre, he was always the guy in question period, right? He was always the guy. And then we saw with this immigration thing, we saw Michelle Rempel-Garner sort of take the wheel. With his travels, he's going to be in question period less too. And one of the pundits was saying that his plan is to be in question period next and give that opportunity to some other MPs. And I think that that is a big speech, because we talked about it on Tuesday too, about how heavily criticized he was for the very tight leash that he kept the media on. And they were even like trying to deny it. Oh no, our MPs go on Power and Politics all the time. Well, they didn't in 2024. And like all of 2024 and most of 2025, they weren't allowed on the plane. They weren't, there's only 3 of them allowed, the 3 chosen ones allowed at the campaigns. But let me tell you another thing that he has changed. So he's letting up, it seems to be that he's letting up a little bit on the micromanagement by giving MPs a chance to have their voice heard in question period a little more. Oh, and I totally lost it. What was my other thing that he was doing? It poofed.
But just to go back to that, is I wonder, and so as a leader, you would sit there and try to figure out, okay, who are these MPs that might leave? Who are these guys and ladies that might leave the party and cross the floor? And maybe those are the ones that them. And those are the ones that you're going to say, oh, hey, do you want to do some question period stuff? Do you want to, I guarantee it. I guarantee that they're sitting there trying to figure it out, and they're trying to come up with a plan for who they think might be stepping out the door.
I think they had the plan for who might be stepping out. And I think that they were using a strong arm approach before. And I think that this is kind of a signal. And I remember what I got it back though. And it's Peter Mansbridge. Do you know who Peter Mansbridge? Does that sound familiar? He's been talking about politics in Canada forever. So he's got an interview with Pierre. I think it comes out on Monday. So every Friday he does a show with Chantal Hébert, which of, and Bruce Anderson. And he and Peter Mansbridge talked about how he had interviewed Pierre, and they spoke about how Pierre is taking a different direction or wants to take a different direction. And doing an interview with Peter Mansbridge is indicative of that, because before, like that northern whatever YouTube that he did where he screwed up about the RCMP, I said at the time, and I still say it now, I don't think he thought anybody, think he thought that that was only going to go to a certain amount of audience, and he isn't going to target just that audience anymore. He's going to go to where the requests for interviews are. That's what he told Peter Mansbridge. And like a couple of months ago, he wouldn't have done a Mansbridge interview. He wouldn't have.
No, he's not good with interviews, but I mean, it makes me wonder if he's got it set up in a way where he gets the questions ahead of time.
But Mansbridge wouldn't do like.
Yeah, I know he would. I just wonder, because I mean, that's a dangerous thing for him.
I see where you're going with this, and I think probably what's more likely, because if he did that, I think it would leak. Honestly, I think somebody would let it be known that that's what he had asked for, and I think that would look worse for him. So I think probably what's more likely is that, and I don't know this, I'm just thinking what I would do if I was on that team. What would I do if I saw the polls like this? And I would be training the shit out of this guy. I'd be sitting him down, and I would be dry running him through interviews to get him to be able to address what he's going to be asked without looking like the old Pierre.
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly what it has to be is you probably have to put in so much prep, because that guy is just automatic. Like, it's just automatic brain to any question to go Liberal bad, Trudeau bad, Carney bad, lost Liberal decade, like there's just those things that are in his head that he responds to every question that he can't answer with that rhetoric and the slogans and the garbage. So, I mean, it would make sense that someone would spend a lot of time with this guy and be like, look, these are the answers to these questions. These are the answers to any question that even touches this point here.
Here's the thing, because it's not like he freezes when he's confronted. Look at him when he's in the House. Look at him when he's in question period. We've talked about this before, about how that is just so very obviously his comfort zone.
Yeah.
If you had the right person who could get him to look at an interview in the same mannerism that he looks at question period, if you got him to perform in interviews the way he does in question period, I don't think that, I think that when we started the show and you talked about how he could be dangerous, I agree that if he handled interviews the way he does question period, he could be dangerous. So I have two questions for you about Pierre, and then we can try to, because like I said, it was going to be Pierre heavy. You said if he had talked this way back in the day about how dangerous would he be. There's a guy on X who was Harper's old communications guy who said if Pierre had said this 13 months ago, he would probably be our prime minister. Do you think that's true? Do you think if he took this tone 13 months ago, instead of seemingly cheering for these guys, do you think that he would have had a shot against Carney?
Yes, 100%. I don't think Carney would have won. I don't think the Liberals would have won. I think the Conservatives would have won had he had the same speeches and the same, direction that he just had in that last speech. I think overwhelmingly the people that were in the middle that got split off because of his rhetoric and his propaganda, and even the fact that it looked like he was pro-Trump, and the people were all, and us as Canadians at the time are like, screw you guys, like everyone that went to the Liberals were going to the Liberals because they were the ones that were standing up to Trump. They were the ones that were standing up to the US at the time when all of these, tariffs and the talk and the bullying, 51st state, I guarantee you 100% the only reason there was that swing was Poilievre continued his propaganda, he continued his rhetoric, guaranteed. I have no doubt in my mind that if Poilievre was the same guy as yesterday, 13 months ago, we would have a conservative majority government.
I don't think so.
I disagree too.
No.
I like how confident you are, though, because I love disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I think it would have been closer. I still don't think he would have won, because I think that 13 months ago, when Trump started bringing these threats up, he would have had to go. We would have to go back to like pre-2022. I think that if he just came out of the bullshit, because he was the propaganda wasn't just when Trump came. He's been propaganding since he's been telling us that he's going to be our next prime minister since February of 2022 when the convoy showed up. I think all of that put together, I think that if he would have just turned and shut off the propaganda machine and went like that, I think that, remember when you said, like, can we trust it? Even this speech, we're waiting to see. I think it would have been a lot closer, but I think that he would have had to stop absolutely everything. It wasn't just about talking about Trump. It was about all of the propaganda with the Liberals bad, and the propping up the people who are saying, Justin Trudeau should be in jail because he tried to all kill us with something that was going to make us magnetic. And,
I don't know why you're, Christy, I don't know why you're saying that. I never said that he was still going to do that. I'm talking about the Pierre Poilievre from yesterday, who was positive, talking about the future. He was not saying Liberals bad. He wasn't saying Trudeau bad. He wasn't saying any of that.
But
I'm talking about the Pierre Poilievre from yesterday. In that speech, if that guy was the guy that was, going into the election, ahead of time after the switch from Trudeau to Carney, I'm telling you, they would have won.
I don't think so, because he was that guy during Trudeau.
But it doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter if he changed his tune. The only reason the Liberal government won was because it became this fight where conservatives and Pierre Poilievre were seen as siding with Trump and the United States and the 51st state. That's what divided Canadians even more and pushed them over into the Liberal side. Yeah. I mean, that's really what it was. If you want to look at your polls, go look at your polls and see when they started to shift.
You know what? When I'm having dinner, I'm going to send you every single poll today.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you look at where the shift was, look at where that shift turned, where conservatives went from leading in those polls to, getting annihilated. Where did that shift happen? That shift happened with the 51st state.
Yeah, totally.
That's what I'm saying.
I think no. I don't think he would have won, because there's a reason why they're catering to Maple MAGA. There's a reason why they keep throwing out little bits here to kind of keep them connected, right? Like the recent post he did on X about Barry Newman with the human rights, right? Because they're all over that, right? So he throws out little crumbs here and there to say, okay, yeah, I'm kind of still connected to you, Maple MAGA. Yeah, here, I'll say this. And then he goes on and does this speech. Yeah. And I think the reason why he's catering to Maple MAGA is because he needs them. He really does. And if he had gone the other way and said something like, if he had been anti-Trump the whole time, he would have lost that Maple MAGA base.
That's true.
No, absolutely not. Who would the Maple MAGA vote for? Carney? Absolutely
PPC.
not.
PPC.
Huh? PPC. I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you. All it would have taken. All it would have taken was for him to distance himself from Trump and keep on with his, strong on crime, lower the immigration, doing all these things. And that caters to the Maple MAGA. Like that, those things will cater to the Maple MAGA, like more so than whatever, than the Donald Trump world, right? And I'm not talking for him to say, Donald Trump, you're bad. Just say, hey, we're not going to be the 51st state. Absolutely not. We're strong Canadians, and we are Canadians, and these are the things that we're going to do. Like, I mean, I guess we can argue this till the cows come home, but like, but literally in my mind, the shift was when the 51st state came up, and he basically, him and his supporters and the people around him all going and visiting the Trump and doing all of
And
these
Trump
things.
endorsed him.
Yeah. Like the fact that Trump endorsed him was another
Trump endorsed Carney,
another
actually.
What?
But all of Trump's people were talking about Pierre first, and it was
Yeah,
after
that's right,
the
he did.
Danielle Smith was on Breitbart and shit. All right, well, we'll agree to disagree, but you have made me change my position a little bit. I'm not as convinced.
I mean,
So
at
my
the end of the
next
day,
question,
we don't know. Like, we don't know
we
really
don't
what
know.
it
Of
is.
course we don't.
But in my mind, I mean, here's the thing: Pierre Poilievre is an absolute chameleon, and you can't trust the thing that he says. Like, you really can't. But I think there's a lot of Canadians that would have been swayed by him because they were in the lead. I mean, and they were in the lead for a reason. And
But a lot of
Canadians
that
were,
reason was because of how unpopular Trudeau was.
for sure.
He
And
was
had
absolutely
Poilievre
inspiring.
had Poilievre not continued on that line when Carney took over, and still blaming Trudeau for everything while Carney's in power, while Carney is now the leader of the Liberal Party, and he basically started talking about what they wanted to do for Canada and how they wanted to change Canada, and just focused on all the things that have fallen apart in Canada and how they were going to fix it, separated themselves from saying, hell no, we're not going to be the 51st state. We're going to make Canada strong. We're going to make them, all that stuff would have catered to all Canadians, and they wouldn't have switched their vote, in my mind, at least the majority. Anyway,
Right.
that's all.
So my next question is about the all-party thing. So in his speech, he suggested getting a team of all parties together to address the CUSMA not renegotiations, but because they're not renegotiations, they're up to see if we wanted to continue, but nobody knows if Trump's going to want to stick with it or not. I like the idea of all parties, and I think Carney does too. Scott Moe is with him again. And Scott Moe was online today to talk about how the tariffs against canola and fish and lobsters was even better than the original deal that they had. I haven't looked into details yet. That was supposed to change on March 1st. I think that the fact that he's got this conservative premier with him that is doing, who was involved in the trade, I think that's, first of all, it's a signal to the other conservatives, again, like I talked about. But I think that it shows that he is able to work across party lines, and he can work with anybody who's in there for genuine reasons. So I think that I'm optimistic about it. At the same time, though, I don't know if we can trust this guy. Is he just saying all parties so that some parties can go in there and just sabotage? Maybe it's just because of my dislike for him that I don't trust him. I don't know. What do you think?
I think at the end of the day, we need Mark Carney leading this. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. There's no one else that's more qualified to go into trade negotiations than Mark Carney, in my mind. And all these other guys, yes, they're politicians. They're not economists. They're not trade deal experts in any sort of way. They may have, a stake in the game. They may want certain things for their provinces, and they may, certain things are going to be better for them, and maybe they should have a say. And I have no problem with thinking that, a group of people all getting together, trying to come up with a plan, everyone putting their input in there. But the ultimate decision, the ultimate negotiations needs to go through Mark Carney. He needs to be the one that leads it. Getting a group together to listen to their concerns and what they need, and how they need to get there and what it is, and they all sort of discuss options and whatever, that's fantastic. And I think that's something that any leader needs to do. They need to listen to the people around them, and they need to come up with a good plan. But I don't think a group needs to be part of this whole CUSMA renegotiation or discussion or any of this stuff.
It's going to be a group anyways. right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, but what I'm saying is there needs to be the leader. I mean,
yeah,
at the end of the day, you almost don't want some of these people as part of it because they've only got their own self-interests in mind for their, their areas, right? And I think input, I think
I
what
think it
they
depends
need
on who
should be on
too.
the table, but I don't think that they need to be part of it. Like, I don't think they necessarily have to be at the table. I think they should have their voices heard, and I think everything that they need should be, you know, put in there, but I don't think they
Okay,
need to
but
be at
let
the
me let
table.
me let me float this out at you.
Sure.
Because you said earlier, you talked about how Pierre doesn't give opportunities for fear that somebody is gonna, right? Maybe Carney could be working on not a succession, but the stronger your team is, the stronger your team is. Like it's not good enough to just have a strong leader. A truly strong leader works on strengthening the people on their team as well. That's
Oh,
just what I think. That's what I think
no,
about
no,
when somebody's taking Scott
yeah,
Moe.
I agree with that. Like, I agree with that 100%. If there are people in the other parties that have like have the qualities and qualifications to be part of this group, then by all means. But I don't think that just a member from every party who has their own self-interest can be part of this group. I want to see resumes. I want to see what these people bring to the table. I don't want to
Yeah.
see Pierre Poilievre there because I don't think Pierre Poilievre brings anything to the table when it comes to trade negotiations. If Pierre Poilievre has an MP that is a majored in economics and has the art of the trade and the deal and has a different way of thinking, sure, put them in the table. Why not? But I don't think that it should just be have someone from every party for the sake of having someone from the party there. I think it needs to be the right person. And if there is the right person, if the right
Doug
person does
Ford.
exist,
Bring Doug Ford to the table. He's going to come with his Reagan ads and he's going to
oh,
come with his big
oh
mafia boss.
Doug Ford is my favorite bull in a
Dougie.
china shop. I mean, if you
He's the
if you
greatest
want a
China. But
disruptor,
the auto
if you want a
industry, he's
disruptor, you bring Doug Ford in.
yep. But
That's
he
it.
would, like, if you're going to bring a premier, you're going to bring Ford because it's the auto industry, just like you brought Mo when it was the agriculture, right? Ford.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking more along the lines of people that are qualified to be part of this, not just names, not just positions. People who are actually
Oh,
qualified to
for
be
sure.
part of this that are going to help us in a positive way, not a negative way. I don't want people. I don't want negative
Yeah,
Nellies
I
in
don't want a
there.
disruptor.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want people. I don't want people in there trying to push back on things just for the sake of pushing back on them.
Yes.
I want people that are going to help with a positive uh, plan to go forward. And I'm worried that there's just going to be those negative Nellies in the world, like the Pierre Poilievres of the world, that are going there. No, that's wrong. No, we can't do that. You can't do that.
You
This
got to
is
go
that.
for
Blah blah
zero
blah blah
tariff,
blah.
which nobody's
Yeah,
ever going to get. Like,
you need people that are
yeah.
realistic and they've got the right qualifications to be there. Perfect. Done. Check the box. I don't care what party they're from. They could be from all parties. They could be, I don't even care if they're from the Green Party or whatever party they're from. If they have the qualifications to be at that table, then they should be at the table.
The reason I like the idea is because of how differently people from different political spheres would look at a solution. I agree that you'd have to be qualified. Don't just have somebody there just because they came from this party. I think find the right people who have different perspectives, because I think the best idea comes when you can trade ideas with people. If you're only talking with people who have the same mindset as you, you're not going to. You may miss something. That's all I'm saying. More
I
angles, the
agree.
better. That's what
I
I think.
agree. What is it? Can you count all the F's, right? In that sentence where
Yes.
you sit there and
Yes.
everyone comes up with a different amount of F's because everyone sees things differently. And I totally agree with having different people at the table to sort of round it out. But they got to be the right people at the table. They can't be
And
Jeff.
I
They
also
can't be
think that
Jeff.
there's like you also, when I'm saying that there's obviously going to be a group, I also think that there's a possibility of a too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal. We've already split that role, so that it used to be just like ambassador to the United States, and that person would handle the trade too. And now that's two separate roles, right? There's the person who is for trade for the United States, and then there's also an ambassador. And I have a lot of confidence in her too. Her name escapes me right now. But holy smokes, when I said that this was going to be a Pierre heavy show, we spent most of the show on Pierre. We got to talk about what happened in BC yesterday with Tara Armstrong. We're not going to get to the Americans today, but that's okay. Everybody always talks about the Americans. We're a Canadian show. We're from BC. So let's talk about BC, Tara Armstrong. The first thing I want to say about Tara Armstrong is that on April 20th, Tara Armstrong is eligible for recall. So, Polly, where do you find the information for the recall for Tara? There we go. So there's a guy named Wilbur Turner who is out of Kelowna, which is where Tara has her riding, and he is leading the petition for recalling Tara Armstrong. Like I said, she's eligible for recall on April 20th. So April 20th, usually in British Columbia, means going down to the beach and smoking weed. And this year it means going down to the beach, smoking weed, and recalling Tara Armstrong.
It sounds like a perfect combination.
Yep. So what happened yesterday, for anybody who didn't know, Tara Armstrong, so she's an independent. She used to be a conservative until she left the party to join Dallas Brody in the One BC party, which is now Done BC, baby. They had a big public fight. They broke up, so they're not a party anymore. But Tara still has her beliefs, and her beliefs is include the Human Rights Tribunal being a kangaroo court. It is that the Human Rights Tribunal is not needed because we already have federal laws against hate speech and discrimination. And so she's trying to get rid of the provincial branch of that, which would be the BC Human Rights Tribunal, especially because the BC Human Rights Tribunal protected LGBTQ community against what's his name? Barry Neufeld. So Barry Neufeld got fined. And like, honestly, I understand why you want to make it a big number to deter somebody. I understand going with a maximum because this guy for 5 years relentlessly refused to hear, no, you're not allowed. You're allowed to have whatever opinions you want to. You are not allowed to express them as publicly as you do and invite discrimination against this group that is protected by our charter by our BC Human Rights Act. He falsely accused people just because they're in this community of harming children. You can't do that. But the $750,000 fine, first of all, this guy's broke ass. He's never going to pay that. He isn't. I would like, if it's me, if I'm in charge of the justice system, I'd love to see a different deterrent than just money, especially when this guy's already not paying. This guy's just going to spend the rest of his life in court with all of this money hanging over his head. He already, before the Human Rights Tribunal, where the $750,000 came down on him, he already faced a defamation suit for over $100,000, which he was ordered to pay, I think, $75 a week because he's so not broke, unwealthy. And he's already not doing that. He already has to go back to court because he's already not paying his first penalty. So they give this guy a $750,000 penalty for something that should be paid attention to. But everybody is so distracted by the fact that it's $750,000. And again, he's not going to pay it. I think that there should be other ways to deter this kind of behavior and to hold these people accountable. I don't know what it is.
Jail time. Jail time. Put him in prison. Put him away. Lock him up.
I think if he can't pay the fine, he should be put in jail.
Yep.
And paid just like child support. Put in every day until your debt is paid off. And the $750 is a lot of it is legal fees. So when you go to human rights, when you go to the BC Human Rights Tribunal, and you have lawyers that are, if you lose the case, you got to pay for the upside's legal fees. And so Barry Neufeld's mostly legal fees that he has to pay back, but also there's fines for him not like, he wouldn't get documents in on time. He didn't listen to the lawyers. He fiddled and farted around and didn't get the things done that he was supposed to do. So he got fines on top of that because he didn't bring in stuff on time. So a lot of those fees are because he's like sovereign citizen. I don't follow the law and I'm better than you type of person. That's what most of those fees are.
Here's the thing, there's a lot of laws that I disagree with. Not a lot, but there are some laws that I disagree with, but I still follow. I disagree with speeding. I do. I should be able to drive as fast as I want to. I think that I truly, honestly believe that, but I don't, right? Because it's not up to me. Just because I disagree with it doesn't mean that if I get caught speeding, I'm like, well, sorry, I disagree with it. So don't worry about it. I don't get a ticket because I disagree with this. I think I should be able to. I'm not hurting anybody, not getting anybody's way. I should be able to drive as fast as I want to.
Fran said he also got fined for taping the hearings, which you're not allowed to do. So it's because he was not smart. He just did a whole bunch of awful things, and that's why it grew.
It's not the not smart thing. It's the. I think that I'm right about my version of reality.
Yeah. Lack of a better word, sorry.
Yeah, that I don't think it's a better word. I just think it's more accurate because I think that it's very easy to dismiss people who live in different realities as being unintelligent, and I don't believe that's what it is. I've been saying that's very consistently since 2022. I believe that a lot of people who believe in alternate realities, it has to do with being disappointed with somebody in authority when you're a child. But that's for another day. You don't even want to get me going on that side road. But the fact is that we have these laws and you can challenge the laws, but what you can't do is just break them and say, well, it doesn't, I don't believe that, so it's okay. I don't agree with those people, so I can just invite harm to them because I want them to live the way that I think that they should live while screaming about freedom. Just saying.
There's a huge portion missing. Like we do have laws, like we have the Criminal Code of Canada. I'm
right here.
Okay, the Criminal Code of Canada that, you know, it's supposed to protect hate speech, but it's I don't think that they really define. I don't think people know exactly what hate speech is on the marginalized.
It's because they think they a lot of their information that they get hits them emotionally, and so they hear a word like hate and they're like, well, I don't hate these people, so it's not hate speech because I don't hate them. And a lot of it feels like hate, bigotry, and there is hate in bigotry, but if you get them talking long enough, and not all of them, I can't speak for all, but in conversations that I have had, they don't believe that it's hate. And I'm not agreeing with them. I'm just giving you my perspective of why they disagree with it. With hate, they don't live in the same reality. They don't have any emotional feelings about hate, and some of them do. But a lot of it is about not seeing the other person as a human. Same thing with racism. It's not about hate. I just don't believe that person is valid, which is hateful. And when you dehumanize, it invites hate and it invites harm and discrimination. But they think that because they don't feel hate in their heart, that it isn't hate, instead of looking at the result of what happened, or the reaction of what you say. Even if you don't say it with hate in your heart, if you say something that would be under hate speech, it invites hate. Look at the reaction to what you're saying. It doesn't matter how you intend it. It doesn't matter. And I think that a lot of people get caught up on well, I didn't intend it for it to be hateful, so it's not hateful. It doesn't matter how you intend it. It doesn't matter how you feel. Nobody gives a shit how you feel. We care about the reaction to the messages that you're putting out, the kind of people that it invites, the kind of harm that it invites.
Yeah. Somebody who's watching it. As somebody who's watching it, they have these town halls, and in these town halls, for the 2S LGBTQI plus community, they say it's about trans, but it's not trans. It's about the whole community, and they are protected status. But in these town halls, they are saying that the 2S LGBTQI community is dangerous. that one of the things they were saying was that trans women go into women's prisons and then they do not nice things to women, which is not true. Like a lot of it is not true. And then it riles people up and creates violence. Like they it incites violence against the 2S LGBTQI
Yeah.
community. And that's where, that's where the hate is, that I see it, right? And then using
I mean,
those terms like he did, like, saying teachers are abusing children because they're teaching them about the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Rob.
Sorry, I'm going to try to remember everything I wanted to talk about here. So from the beginning, so when people talk about different communities, I think the biggest issue is we've sort of seen over our lifetimes of how when these communities were living in the shadows, how repressed those people are, how marginalized they are, how shut out they are, and the feelings that they don't belong, or the feelings that they're different and they're wrong for being what they are. And I think over this history of time and what we're trying to get to, as a society, is trying to make people understand that everyone is beautiful, everyone should live the lives that they want to live. And the problem with these people who claim this isn't hate speech, anytime you try to marginalize a group, or you try to make a group out to be something that's different or not proper, or you shouldn't really be this way, you're inviting hate. You're inviting this hate to this group by basically saying that they don't belong and they're not right for doing what they're doing. And when you look in schools and you look at people being bullied, and bullying is a massive thing. And I mean, we're talking about bullying in schools. We're talking about bullying outside of schools. You're talking about people from the LGBTQ community that have committed, crimes where they've lashed out. You're talking about people that have spent their entire lives being told that they are wrong for who they are. They are not, there's something wrong with them. They're disgusting. People shouldn't be this way. And by not opening it up in schools and making people understand that these people are beautiful people and everyone belongs, you're now perpetrating this thought that these people are different. And kids and teenagers who are growing up under this umbrella of these people are different, it's disgusting, they should never be this way. Other people who may even be part of that community go, I'm wrong for being who I am, and they're sitting there and they're struggling with their mental health. They're struggling with suicide. They're struggling with dealing with the world that they live in, because the world that they live in is telling them that they're bad and they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't exist. And what they do is wrong. And that in itself is hate, by not allowing people to express themselves and be who they are, and everyone sit there and embrace them for who they are. And the second you say that they're wrong for being who they are, or you don't agree with who they are, and the second that anyone hears that, you're now perpetrating hate and violence towards a community. And anyone who sits there and worries about the transgender person next door to you, or the drag queen, or the gay or lesbian, or anyone who lives around you, and you worry about what they're doing in their lives, give your head a shake. Smarten up, live your own lives. No one's telling you that you're an idiot for being a gun toting whatever. No one's telling you you're wrong. No one's telling you that you're wrong for being who you are, right? I mean, no one's telling you you're wrong for being heterosexual. Live your life. Stop worrying about what other people are doing and who they are and how they live their lives. And if you can't shut up and you're sitting there spreading your own gospel about how you think other people should live your lives, that is wrong. That is hate. That's inciting hate. That's inciting division. That's inciting people to think that other people are wrong, including the people that are living in that community who think they're wrong because you think they're wrong. and I think is disgusting. And I think enough's enough.
I think so
And
too. I think you're right. I think it is disgusting. And like, how how do you look at somebody and say, "I know you more than you know you"? You think you know you, but no, you're wrong. Like, how do you even do that? Um, I think that there is has been a stronger effort, and I'm telling you, I'm going to die on this hill. It started with the litter boxes. It did. I'm telling you, it started with those stupid litter box rumors. Because those litter box rumors, and I said it at the time too, they were just priming society to feel negatively towards people who are different. No kid was taking a piss in a litter box in schools dressed up as a cat. But oh, we have they want to, these teachers want to cater to kids who want to be different. We can't allow that. We can't allow that. We need to feel negatively against letting kids be a little bit different. And then all of a sudden we're shifting over to the drag queens. Look at these people who are different. These men shouldn't be wearing dresses. You know what I mean? Everything was about othering. Everything was about getting society to look at anybody who is different in any way. If you're not white and straight, you're different. And everybody needs to look at them like an other, because it isn't just the LGBTQ community. We're seeing stronger racism against people who aren't white. We're seeing it in Canada, but we're really seeing it in the States. Haitians were never eating cats and dogs. They weren't making up false rumors about white people. They are doing this on purpose. And I think that I don't know, I'm not there to find out what their end goal is. I just think that when you are forcing, or when you are trying to make everybody look the same, act the same, think the same, they're probably easier to control. I think Rob is right. I think that everybody is beautiful and everybody deserves a spot in the community. And this whole isolating thing, the whole, nope, you don't belong because you're different, I think is bullshit.
yeah, and you know, I mean, this sounds silly because we've heard it a billion times, but you've got billionaires raping children, you know, getting away with it, covering things up. You've got priests raping and molesting children. You've got Boy Scouts leaders, you know, doing things to children, and yet the focus is on what, like
Yeah.
men wearing dresses, reading to kids
Zero
in a
point one
library.
percent of the population, like 0.1% of the population, and nobody else.
I say, yeah, you need to be afraid. You need to be afraid of those people, not those people. And it's baffling to me.
It's why I started doing my videos. I have over 100 videos showing who is in the news for harming children in that way. And I started doing them. I would start my videos by saying, why are people bitching about drag queens when we could be bitching about this guy? And then I would bring them somebody's in the news. And I did, like I said, over 100 videos like that. And at the beginning of when I was doing those videos, if you would have said to me, where do you think the greatest harm to children are? I would have said the church. I 100% would have said the church. I would have said you're going to find more priests than anybody. And as I was doing it, I've changed my answer now. The answer is very strongly the internet, and apps like Snapchat. Snapchat, if your kids are on Snapchat, you should be watching to make sure that they're safe, because Snapchat was mentioned more than anything else when I was doing all those videos. But the thing that everybody had in common, everybody who had committed these horrible crimes against children, was that they were in a position of authority or trust. It wasn't this stranger. And if it was the drag queens or the transgender people who are trying to, you know, fool people, why would you want to stick out? Over 100 videos, I talked about thousands of people, mostly men, who did this to kids. They don't want to stand out. They want to be comfortable in the child's life. They don't want to stand out as being different. And everybody's just pointing their fingers at everybody who's different to say, oh, that's who.
Oh, lost her.
She's getting a phone call.
Yeah, I think really what she's probably saying is,
I got a
you know,
call. That's why I got a call.
Okay.
Because we're past 6. Sorry. Anyway, so I totally disrupted everything because of my calls.
Just a quick note, the one thing
my
that
dad's nightly check-in calls every night.
Sorry, just a quick note. The one thing that boggles me though is the Human Rights Commission or the Human Rights Code protects freedom of religion, right? These people, the right wing, the far right that I'm talking about, Christian nationalists, would like it protects them.
Yep.
And they want it gone. Like, what the heck?
Yep. It should protect everybody, but they want their version of reality. Yeah. Anyways, we are past 6. I gotta call my dad back. We didn't talk about Cuba. We didn't talk about India. There's so much more to talk about, but we'll have to get there on Tuesday. I'm going to end with my little final thought was, because we didn't get to it, but the State of the Union speech, when they asked Carney about it, and he's like, nah, I didn't see it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. One of the things that I had said, Rob, when you were away and we had Fran on the show, I said one of the things that I appreciated about Carney isn't just what he's doing, but how he's acting while he's doing it. He's setting an example, and that example is don't panic. Don't panic over this guy. That guy who yapped for 2 hours didn't watch it. Anyway, that's my final thought. I like the don't panic, keep calm, and Carney on. I will see if Pierre's new image sticks. Rob, do you have any other final thoughts before we say goodbye till Tuesday?
No, I think I've stood on a soapbox long enough, and I can't wait for Tuesday.
I can't wait for Tuesday too. These go so fast. These hours. Anyways,
we need to have an interactive one because people want to come up. We should have one day where we just give everybody the link and let them join. And hopefully they're,
or is there a way we could talk afterwards? If there's a way for me to do this on TikTok, and then I can bring people up, and then you can stream it on YouTube. I wonder if that's possible.
And
if we did,
I know
if
a
we
couple.
did on,
oh, sorry.
If we did it on Maple Minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a couple people who want to come on and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could bring them on here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We have to have an interactive live. There's a lot of people that want to come up and have questions and they want to talk to you.
I love a question period. I'd love people to come on and ask a question.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
A whole live of just questions.
Just questions.
Right.
Come on out. Come on up.
We're going to talk about
ask
it.
A
we'll
question.
let everybody else. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, come on up, ask a question, get Christy's take, get my take, get Polly's take, get whoever's take, and let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We'll talk. We'll set up a date for that. Maybe it'll be like one of our Tuesday or Friday shows, but we'll just do it interactive. I love that. Ask a question. You get our 3 answers. Next person comes up and gets their question. Love it. All right. So that's it for today. Then we will see everybody on Tuesday, 5:00 Pacific, 8:00 Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and watching us trade our opinions. Looking forward to having an interactive one. Like I said, we'll sort it out amongst ourselves, and then we will see everybody on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.